we started HeroX because we believe that we can work together to solve problems better, faster, cheaper, using crowdsourcing the internet than other forms. We live in a world where technology is driving change, going faster and faster. A lot of people use the term exponential technology to describe this, and many people take this for granted, but the idea that a new app or a new issue or a news story, a new service, a new product can go from unknown to global impact in a matter of days or weeks has been unprecedented in the history of mankind. So we have all these technologies driving the accelerated rate of changes, also known as exponential technologies. And we're feeling it. We're feeling the impact of this. It's causing disruption and unintended consequences alongside of the intended ones, right? And this is always true of everything that human beings do. We create one technology and it solves one problem, and it creates an unintended side effect. A great example of that would be refrigeration, right? Refrigeration is amazing. You can preserve food for long periods of time. Only one problem: we use fluorofluorocarbons, and they leaked into the environment, and they created a huge hole in the ozone and threatened the earth. Small unintended side effects. So all technologies have these side effects, and they're happening faster and faster and faster. And yet the way that we address them, the way that we solve these problems is still stuck in many ways in old school thinking. The way governments act, the way nonprofits and charitable organizations act is still very much the traditional organization model. In other words, they're not leveraging these technologies to their full potential. So HeroX was started to make that available as a crowdsourcing platform, where organizations can post challenges, seeking innovations, and attract anyone who's interested in solving the problem. And the results have been pretty amazing. We've worked with nonprofits for years, but we've always been, they've always been paying commercial rates for working with us. So we wanted to, now that we've had a lot of success, we wanted to take things to the next level and not only remove the economic barriers for crowdsourcing, but also start building an ecosystem to really support nonprofits to leverage the power of the crowd to really drive impact and change in their projects that they're doing. And that's really why we started. These organizations that are working to make the world a better place. In many ways, they're more needed now than ever before, right? And a lot of the programs that they do are very effective, but there's a gap, right? The gap is how the tools that they have and what they have available to tackle innovation and to leverage the talent, creativity, intelligence of people who don't work for them, who they can't afford to pay to work for them. And that is one of the best applications for crowdsourcing. And if you think about it, especially in projects with high positive social impact, the number of people out there that would be interested in helping solve that problem are enormous. And we see there's a tremendous amount of time and energy that people have available. And if they can work online, if they can work remotely on a problem, and if these problems can be broken into small pieces, amazing things can happen. So I'll give you an example. If you remember the video Gangnam Style, in the Economist magazine, they did this article where they estimated that since this is July 2012, right? So it doesn't even capture the whole thing. Up until July 2012, people online had spent 140 million hours watching Gangnam Style on YouTube.
Wow.
140 million hours. And that's just the Gangnam Style video. That's not all the variants, right? And trust me, people have spent way more time watching the variants and the spin-offs and all that. But anyway, 140 person hours of time is enough to build 20 Empire State Buildings. It's a tremendous amount of work. And so that's just an example of, like, there's so much access, right? So many people are connected. And if we can get them to help on an issue for a small amount of time, and not every problem can be broken down into a 3-minute time commitment, but problems can be divided and conquered and collaborated on in unprecedented ways. We have the technology to do that. And so what we just want to make it easy and accessible for nonprofits to use crowdsourcing to solve those problems that can be tackled at scale. And we know that's going to have a huge impact and difference. There's a couple of barriers to nonprofits doing crowdsourcing. One is obviously cost. If there's upfront cost, it's hard for them. Our research has shown that it's nonprofits who do crowdsourcing projects, who do incentive challenges. It's always easiest to raise money for the incentives, because the incentives are inherently a pay for success model. Meaning you're going to a donor and you're saying, okay, we want to create this innovation, and if we succeed, we need financial backing for the incentive, for the prize. But it's only paid out if it's successful. If it's not successful, it's not paid out. So it de-risks the donation for the donor, and research has shown that it is far easier to raise money for. A pay for success model versus pay me now and hope, right? And so if we can take as much of the fixed costs of doing crowdsourcing off the table, we dramatically reduce the barriers to nonprofits doing it. In fact, we incentivize them to try crowdsourcing. So that's one barrier. The other barrier is know-how, skill set, expertise, confidence. And so by making our platform available for pro bono for eligible nonprofit organizations, we really address those first two items very, very powerfully and effectively, because we know how to do crowdsourcing. We can advise and train these organizations so that not only can they use our platform at no cost, but they can also get the support they need to do the best job crowdsourcing. And we know that will really be a game changer because for the first time, it makes crowdsourcing available at a price point that's just truly transformational from where it has been historically in the nonprofit community. It's the differences between them taking on the world with their team, and nonprofits can't, they don't have buckets of money, most of them, and they can't like hire these huge teams, so they're usually understaffed, and they have to divert a lot of resources to fundraising and other components of being a nonprofit. So you talk to the CEO of a nonprofit, and you'll get a feel for what they're up against. I mean, it's quite remarkable, the challenges that they face, compared to that team surrounded by an army of thousands of committed innovators, solvers, people who want to help them, right? So we're really helping connect these nonprofits with their tribes, right? Creating an army of change for them. That's what crowdsourcing makes possible. And like I said, in the Gangnam Style one, it's amazing how numbers work, right? You know, if you went to people about an issue and said, hey, you care about, you know, the forest, you care about the oceans, do you care about addiction, or homelessness, or hunger, you're going to find people whose lives have been touched by these things. And if you say to them, hey, would you be willing to spend, you know, an hour a weekend helping us solve this problem? Of course, a lot of people are going to say yes. So why aren't we, right? Um, I would argue that there's an old mindset, which is that the role of people to nonprofits is to write checks, is to give money. And so there's this huge, you know, focus on raising money, raising money, raising money. And I'm not saying raising money is bad. It's not bad at all. It's just not sufficient. And also, it's people are tired of just being seen for their wallets. And it doesn't feel very satisfying when you care about a problem and you feel helpless, and you don't feel things are being done that could be done, and all you can do is write a check, right? All you can do is give $50. It doesn't feel very fulfilling. But if you can engage, right? If you can participate, if you can learn what are the issues, how do we solve this, and you can start collaborating, it's a total game changer. So there's a huge amount of demand, of interest in in helping, in becoming part of the solution, right? Across globally, there's a massive pent up desire to make a difference, be part of the solution, but there's very little pathways for people to do anything about it. So crowdsourcing, like the Impact Initiative, brings the power of the crowd to nonprofits so that they can tap into that pent up demand, that pent up interest. And I believe it's going to make a world of difference. Like, I remember times when, you know, if you like, if you wanted to, you know, see your credit card like transactions, you had to wait for a paper printout to be sent in the mail, right? A month later, like that was it. That's all you had. That was the amount of transparency you had about your credit card charges. Now we live in a world where you can literally, before you even leave the store, right, you can open your app and you can see the charge, right? Or you can even get a text in real time of a charge, right? Like, we live in a world of transparency and access that's unprecedented, and we take it for granted very quickly. But in just what you described, right? There's this old model: just put your money into this big pool. Don't worry about it. We're taking care of it. We'll send you if you donate enough money, we'll send you glossy brochures, and we'll call you and ask you for even more money sometime in the future. That's your engagement, right? It's really quite devoid of value for the donor. And especially in a world where people know that getting direct access, being connected, you know, being able to engage and see where your money's being applied, et cetera, is really possible. It's not even just, oh, this is a better way. I would argue that you know, if we don't start getting better at using these technologies and capabilities, and the fact that we're all connected, that we're all 2 clicks away from each other, we don't start using that to collaborate more effectively, right? Then because the negative changes, the high rate of change is getting, you know, it's happening, right? And if we're trying to solve problems the old way, and the problems are coming at us the new way, if you play that tape out, right, it doesn't lead to a good place. So this is an imperative far beyond. So we wanted to get this started, and we wanted to give it a solid foundation and real value day one. And you know, HeroX is in a great position to do that. But we've been, you know, like everything in the internet, crowdsourcing is all about creating ecosystems, and we already have an ecosystem of partners all shapes and sizes, other platforms, content providers, um, software developers, innovation experts, consultants, et cetera, et cetera. And we often collaborate with them on different crowdsourcing projects of shapes and sizes. Um, and that ecosystem is essential to success. So we've since we've been talking about the Impact Initiative, the response from our partners has been really, really positive, and they want to get involved. So we are building a program where lots of organizations can participate in the Impact Initiative. We want to make this really much bigger than just what HeroX brings to the table, but bring a wide range of partners and supporters who can also provide support and build a rich ecosystem for nonprofits that want to use the power of the crowd. So that's something that we've started doing. We already have partners that have signed up, and it's just going to accelerate from there. And we're really hopeful that this will just continue to grow and grow, and really become this amazing toolkit and resource that, again, will just make it a no-brainer for organizations to find their tribe and their army of change, make a difference. What we hope to do is we want to build this, grow it, and as it gets to size, that the real like one of the things I mentioned this earlier is that we've learned about crowdsourcing is crowdsourcing not only is super effective, but it's also a great fundraising tool, right? Meaning we've worked with organizations that have a challenge idea that's unfunded, right? Like they don't have money for the prize, but they can go and they find it, right? And they find it because they share the challenge idea with potential donors, and the donors, especially with the pay for success model, are like, I'm in, right? Like this is great. And they see the value and they want to be associated with the success, right? It's like putting up a reward for a lost cat or something, you know what I mean? Like it's easy to do that for somebody who cares about and wants to be associated with, saving a cat, right? And so the model of of incentivized challenges is a great fundraising tool. We want to scale this out and make it easy for organizations to come up with their challenge model and their idea, even if they don't have the funding for it, and they get to that funding. So to get there, we want to grow it, prove it, create a lot of confidence with potential funders that they see a track record, and actually eventually spin this off as its own organization that could potentially be a source of funding longer term.